We're having a gangbang, we're having a ball. We're having a gangbang up against the wall. Won't you join us? It's part of the fun. The thing about a gangbang is you need more than just one.
Girl, what even was that? What are we doing here on this day?
Let me do the introduction.
Okay.
And welcome back, spooky friends, to Crips and Corks, episode 35. I should stop saying the numbers unless I'm sure. I'm your host, DJ, here with my co-host,
Paul, as usual.
And if you listen to us on YouTube, you might notice that you can see us.
Right, we're on video now. That's crazy.
And really spooky, we can see you. Ooh. No, we can't.
So if you're listening on audio right now, go over to YouTube so you can see our beautiful faces. And also, we're not going to edit the YouTube video as much, so there's going to be extra content on the YouTube video of our episodes.
Mistakes.
Mainly mistakes. But you know, you've listened to this podcast long enough probably that you're used to our mistakes. I'm probably one of the biggest mistakes out there, okay? So...
That's what your mom says.
Yeah, she was here last weekend. Ugh.
She loved it, though. Oh, how was your week?
My week was pretty cool. In average work, whatever. But we have to discuss what's going on with the Vatican right now. Because...
What's the Vatican?
So the Vatican just dropped, yesterday. There's, So first they dropped that they have, evidence of UFOs now, which I think is crazy.
Wait,
they've had it since 1990 or something like that.
You're freaking out over the Vatican having UFO evidence. But when the U.S. government said that they had the evidence, we didn't even discuss it.
I know, but also the Vatican came out with 6 new signs of paranormal possession or something like that. It was really hard to understand, but
Put a pin in that because we're going to do a demonic possession case in a couple weeks.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to research more of what the Vatican was talking about and the things they just released. And then we're going to have a very special guest when we talk about the demonic possession. And so stay tuned for that. That'll be in 2 or 3 weeks.
Yes. How was my week? I'm so glad you asked, Paul.
Anytime.
Oh shit. How was my week? I guess it was good.
That's good.
Nothing really out of left field happened.
Mm-hmm.
I had what I wanted to talk about all thought out of my head in the shower this morning and
That happens to me all the time. I'll have the best idea of the best thing to talk about for my intro for the podcast, and then I just lose it.
I was thinking about it, but for our Uncorked, I had to stop by my storage unit to get stuff, and my storage unit is right by Dunkin' Donuts.
Right.
And I was I'll go to Dunkin' on the way back. And so once I saw the Dunkin', I started thinking about my coffee order, but the line was too long.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I proceeded to spend the entire drive over here thinking about coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what replaced whatever I was going to talk about. So I guess today's shitty because I didn't get to get my Dunkin'. And I don't even like Dunkin' that much.
We can get Dunkin' after this. See, I know...
No, if we're getting coffee after this, we're going to that cute shop up the road from you.
Tea. See, I don't drink coffee, so I don't have a preference.
I'll get you a muffin.
Oh, girl, I don't want to
know. You want to taste my muffin, Paul?
Oh, honey. I know a few people have tasted that muffin. And it's a little moldy.
Do you see what I have to put up in here? Okay.
Girl,
okay.
The abuse.
Why don't you tell
crazy.
us? Is this our first June episode?
Yes, happy freaking Pride Month.
Pride. Maybe we should have worn the Pride outfits for... Well, no. Because...
Well, you can go over to the YouTube channel again, check out our Pride edition of Uncorked, and see us in our special Pride outfits.
So, we do not normally look like this when recording. Paul's belly button does not normally stare me in the eye.
Oh my god.
It's
just a little treat for the first video episode.
Most of the time, you're probably going to catch us in t-shirts or tank tops now that it's summer.
Right.
And then winter, you're going to get us in baggy sweatshirts.
Don't get us wrong, though. Every so often, we'll dress up or whatever. But for now, this is what you're getting. This is what we're doing. This is what the dolls and the divas are doing.
If you really want to see us dress up, we've decided that every Uncorked, we're going to do a different themed outfit. Whether it's a costume or a color or just a theme. We're not going to talk about it ahead of time. It's just going to be a surprise for you whenever we drop Uncorked.
Exactly. And honestly, just go watch freaking Uncorked. We go crazy on Uncorked. We talk about so many things we can't talk about on here, so just go freaking watch Uncorked and hear all those crazy stories we talk about.
But Paul, I believe since it's the first episode of the month,
it's time to pass the torch. We're moving on from Reba. Reba, thank you so much again. You were an amazing hot guy of the month. But, it's Pride. So, we had to go down under for Pride. And
I love when people go down under on me.
Oh, girl, we know. I read that on the bathroom stall about you. But
At Lucky's or at Club Pittsburgh?
both.
Oh.
She's famous. She's hopping. So, the new hot guy of the month is none other than Mr. Rush himself, Troye Sivan!
My angel baby.
Yes, he's our angel baby, forever living in our hearts.
Joke.
And you know what's interesting about Troye Sivan? He was actually born on June 5th.
Really?
He was born during Pride Month. He was destined to be a gay icon.
He really was. Wasn't he born in South Africa, though?
Yeah, he was born in South Africa, actually. No, South Australia. Wait, maybe it was Africa. We'll fact check that.
I remember he was either born in South Africa and then moved to Australia, or he's born in Australia, spent part of his childhood in South Africa, and then moved back to Australia.
No, I think you're right about the South Africa thing.
Because he has more of almost a British accent than an Australian accent.
Right. And did you know, actually, first, let's talk about this. Because Troye Sivan was actually destined to be a twink. He has something called Marfan syndrome, which people with Marfan syndrome, they tend to be a lot taller and lankier and things, and skinnier. So he was destined to be a twink. Like, that's just how it was going to be from the start. Like, Marfan syndrome is painful from what I gather, so it's kind of awful, not like something you'd want to get. So, sorry about Troye.
Thank you for interrupting me before I said, I want that.
Yeah, exactly. I knew where you were going.
You saw it coming.
You heard twink and you said, yes, I want it.
Because I was about to say, is it painful or terrible, or can I say something? And you saw me starting to speak and you cut me off, so thank you.
Anytime. So, as I'm sure you know, Troye got his start on YouTube.
Yes.
If you were in the trenches like we were in high school, you were watching YouTubers, and Troye Sivan was one of the OG YouTubers, and that's really how he got his start and got discovered. I remember watching his coming out video way back in the day.
That was in the great coming out of what was it, 2012, 2013?
Right, it was him,
Connor Franta, Joey Graceffa.
Right.
All
Tyler Oakley, bitch.
Tyler Oakley.
Girl, if you were in the trenches, you know exactly what we were talking about on the...
I desperately wish
Right.
Tyler Oakley would shave his mustache, and then he'd be the hottest man alive.
I like the mustache, honestly.
I don't go for mustaches.
But Troye Sivan really was there in the golden age of YouTube. It is.
And he's only our age.
Exactly, he is. He's as young as we are. We're 27, but...
No, Paul is.
Girl, shut the fuck up. But it is interesting, how some of these YouTubers, got their start on YouTube and got super famous. Kind of like Shawn Mendes. Shawn Mendes was one of those dollies, too.
I guess so. I never watched Shawn Mendes.
Right.
The YouTube I watched just, the vlogs, the people who, did the skits.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really watch the people who were... No, I didn't watch Shawn Mendes because I didn't particularly watch, the people who were doing covers and, playing guitar and stuff.
Right. No, I didn't really do that either. I kind of just watched the music people on YouTube who didn't only do music, but they also did regular YouTuber things like tags. If you remember when they did tags, boyfriend tag, girlfriend tag, roommate tag, all that bullshit.
Yes.
But
I remember tagging.
Yeah, I'm so excited to learn more about Troye Sivan and to teach you guys more about Troye Sivan because
I've been in love with him for years.
How do you not love Troye Sivan? Troye Sivan is such an icon, such a legend, such the moment. And you should probably head on over to our TikTok on June 5th for a very special...
Happy birthday.
...to Troye Sivan from us here at Crips and Corks.
Happy birthday to you.
I don't like how he looked me in the eyes when he did that. Don't look me in the eyes when you do things like that. That was a little too sexual for me. Oh my gosh.
It could have been worse. I could have taken your hand while I did it.
My hair's already a mess. One thing about this video is my hair is progressively just going to get messier as this video goes along, people. So just bear with me here. You know, it's just what we're doing. But...
yeah, I swear mine was fine before we started the video.
what can you do? But that's enough for now for Troye Sivan. Much more to come, and I'm super excited for all we have planned for Troye this month. So, speaking of Pride, what do gays love to do during Pride?
Drink.
Drink! Let's get into the alcohol.
Sorry, I was going to make a dirty joke, and then I was like running through my head. What are we drinking?
So, today, we have our Yellowtail wine. It's the big, bold, red Yellowtail wine. So let me read the back to y'all.
I love big and bold.
Don't we all? So, the big and bold, jammed with lush dark fruits, spice, and a touch of vanilla. The Casella family has been crafting wines for generations. The same family traditions and passion carry on today through Yellowtail, great tasting Australian wine that brings a smile to everyone's lips. So, this wine isn't only Australian because of our hot guy of the month being Australian.
No.
Our topic is also about Australia, but let's drink before we get into that a little more. Let's give us a good old pour. Let's get into the ASMR crack. Okay, she gave a good old crack.
I love how every time you crack the bottle, you turn it completely perpendicular.
It's... All right,
She's bold.
Alrighty. Cheers.
Five grapes.
Period. That's a good wine. Yellowtail put their whole pussy into that.
5 grapes.
Girl, Yellowtail really popped off with that. That's a really good wine.
5 grapes. I have no other comments.
And that wine was only $12. If you need a cheap wine to take to a dinner party, but you still want to impress people, the Yellowtail Big and Bold, that's the tea. And this isn't sponsored. We are not sponsored by any wine companies or anything.
If you would like to sponsor us, please email us, cripsandcorks@gmail.com.
Yeah, yes. But this wine, good. I agree. 5 grapes. Go out and get yourself some of this Big and Bold. But I realized I've already failed you guys for the video portion of this. I had a picture of Troye Sivan, so let me show you guys this picture of Troye Sivan I found.
We're gonna need another. Oh.
And if you're driving, take your hands off the wheel, open your phone, and go look at this picture of Troye Sivan I found. Isn't he so cute?
I was gonna bring my. Can you fix my keyboard?
I'm gonna take it off. I don't need it anymore.
I'm thinking I'm gonna have to bring my old computer to use for visual aids.
AIDS. We probably shouldn't do that. We're probably gonna get canceled for doing that.
Anyways.
Why don't I tell you a story, DJ?
I love it.
So, 2 slices of white bread, 158 calories. 2 slices of ham, 203 calories. 2 slices of turkey, 54 calories. A slice of Swiss cheese, 106 calories. Add some mayo and mustard and dip into an egg batter. Transfer into a skillet and cook until golden brown. No one knows quite who invented this culinary creation, but 2 things are for certain. This sandwich is of French origin, and the inventor must have loved their calories. But today, we are talking about more than just a ass-fattening, thigh-clapping sandwich. This sandwich shares its name with one of the most infamous places in all of Australia. Today, we are not exploring the culinary history of the Monte Cristo sandwich. We are diving deep into the dark side of Australia and discussing the Monte Cristo Homestead, the most haunted house in all of Australia. Down under, mate. Shrimp on the Barbie.
What the fuck? Did you just read a sandwich recipe on God's internet?
That's why I told you not to read the notes, because I wanted you to be surprised. I didn't want you to see that coming.
I definitely did not.
I know you don't see most things coming, because they usually hit it from the back. Hit it from the back!
I'm also not wearing my glasses, so I can't even see you.
Oh, that's fine. You don't gotta see me for this.
Oh, Lord knows I don't. Beyonce knows it too. And Taylor Swift.
Oh, the legends, the icons, the moments.
The Holy Trinity.
So, we do have some trigger warnings for this episode. Oh. My first episode with some trigger warnings. So, trigger warning, suicide, animal abuse, and slavery. So, if any of those bother you, be sure to just go ahead and join us next time. I'm so sorry.
Can I make a comment to the listeners?
Yes.
On this podcast, we do discuss slavery and other outdated belief systems, ideologies, philosophies, and actions that we do not agree with at all, slavery being just one of them. And please do not take us talking about it so nonchalantly on the pod as any acceptance by us. We do not. When we discuss it, we're discussing it as a historical matter of fact. We cannot go back and change the history. Mm-hmm. So we are going to discuss it as fact, but we, amongst others, will continue to fight against slavery, genocide, war, oppression, and tyranny through our actions going forward.
Very that. And we have to tell these stories because they are a part of our history, and we will not erase the stories of these people because discussing it is educating people about these topics, and education is key for a better future and not making the same mistakes that were made in the past.
Absolutely. If you do not know your history, you are doomed to repeat it. Now let's bring it back up.
Alrighty. So, moving on to Australia. So, the Monte Cristo Homestead is actually located in New South Wales, Australia, in a little town called Junee, right?
Okay. I think I've heard of there.
Yeah, I think it's one of the more popular towns. Now, it's still a small town, don't get me wrong, but it's still a popular tourist destination from what I gather in Australia. Now, Monte Cristo actually means Mountain of Christ. So they named it that because the Monte Cristo Homestead, the mansion actually overlooks the town over a hill. So that's why they called it the Mountain of Christ, because it overlooks the entire town, okay?
Okay.
So, the Monte Cristo Homestead story is actually centered around the family called the Crowley family, the Crowleys, which I'm pretty sure there's like some sort of horror movie or something where there's like a family called the Crowleys. I know that has nothing to do with this, but...
Is it Crowley with an O or Crawley with an A?
Oh, it's Crawley with an A.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
No, just because I've heard this before and they've said Crawley, and like you said Crowley, and I was like...
The way I've been saying Crawley in my head all week I've been researching it, and I've been reading it with the A all week. That's crazy. It's okay. So, the story mainly centers around Christopher Crowley. So, Christopher was born in 1841 and raised in an inner city suburb of a city called Balmain, which, again, is in Australia. Right. Now, growing up, Christopher developed a love for farming. He really enjoyed farming. So what he did, he found a wife and he would go and buy some land. So his wife, the woman he would marry, her name was Elizabeth Carr. And so Elizabeth was actually a member of the Wurundjeri people. And I know I'm very much pronouncing that wrong. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Aborigine?
No, it is an Aborigine tribe. The Wurundjeri people are the people who are native to Junee. Her people actually lived in Junee for 40,000 years. Okay. So when...
The first time you said it, I thought I heard like a bastardization of Aborigine.
No. They are Aborigine, but the name of their specific tribe was like Wurundjeri.
Wurundjeri. Okay.
Wurundjeri, yeah. Okay. I know I'm pronouncing it wrong. I'm so sorry. I'm so bad at pronouncing things.
It's okay.
But it was really actually pretty awful because when they got married, Elizabeth had to pretend to be white and like denounce like her like belief systems, the culture she was raised in. And
know.
that was...
Because Australia, they're still very, very... I read in a tourist book that there is still a lot of racism against the Aborigine people of Australia.
I read a little about it researching this, and actually the English really came in and really wiped out a lot of the Aborigine people. There was something like 1 million or something Aborigine people before the English came and settled it and made it kind of like the jail state that they did. They really killed a lot of them, which is so awful. And I really didn't realize how brutal the English were to the Aborigine people.
But you know what? They fought a war against emus, and the emus won.
The emus did win. That was a crazy story. What? That was during 2020, right? When all that crazy shit was going on?
No, that was between the world wars. Australia literally fought a war against emus. It is called the Great Emu War.
That's crazy.
And the Australian army lost.
That's crazy.
Emus are like smaller ostriches.
Oh, I know. I know
them.
about my emus. Trust and believe. One thing about me is I know about my emus.
Anyways, back to Elizabeth.
Yes, so basically she had to pretend to be white to marry Christopher. They got married in 1860. So what they would do is they would buy 2 parcels of land and start their homestead. Now, fun fact time, which I know you're probably curious what a parcel of land is. A parcel of land is
How many ha-has is it?
I don't know what a ha-ha is.
A hectare.
A hectare.
Yeah, ha-ha. Because it's H-A. That's the abbreviation. So I call it ha-has.
Okay. Well, a parcel is actually another word for acre. So they just got 2 acres of land.
That's it?
Yeah, but I imagine as the story goes, they acquire more land. But we'll get into that later. Don't worry, we'll get into that. So, starting out, the family lived in a very small slab hut. They were very poor. Christopher really struggled to make ends meet, right? They were very poor family. But luckily, in 1878, the family's fortune would change when the Great Southern Railway opened. And this brought a ton of influx travelers to Junee, right? So Christopher really seized this opportunity, and he built a hotel right across from the railway station, called it the Railway Hotel. Let me double check that.
We love a hotel magnet.
Yes. So.
Unless it's Donald Trump. Fuck you.
T. And that's on period. So, this would be the key to Christopher's success, would be this hotel, because all the travelers would be coming, staying at his hotel, and it would really just make him a wealthy man. So this investment in the hotel was really what did it for the Crawley family and made them wealthy, you know? And it was also very important that he make a move like this because he had a growing family too. The wife kept getting pregnant and they would have kids and blah, blah, blah. So, after they gained all that wealth, they needed a status symbol, something to flex on the people, to really let them know we're not poor anymore. You know, we're not just these whores living in this hut. So that's what?
A boat. They bought a boat.
Oh, well, it's kind of landlocked, and I don't think they traveled that much.
They bought a plane. Like Taylor Swift.
Ooh, girl, they were traveling. They said trendsetter. Nope. What they did is they decided to build the Monte Cristo Homestead. The real status symbol of their wealth was the Monte Cristo Homestead, which would be a 2-story mansion built in the late Victorian style. So they got all this wealth and built the mansion as their status symbol.
Do you have a picture?
I do have a picture of the Monte Cristo.
Because you said Victorian, I'm just imagining all that gingerbreading and sculptural shit.
Okay. For those at home, that's what the Monte Cristo Homestead looks like. DJ, that's what it looks like.
That's very Australian.
And if you don't want to watch our video, you can go to our Instagram as well. But yes, it was built in the late Victorian style. And how many years did it take? Okay, yes. So it only took them about a year for them to make. So they built it from 1884 to 1885. But before moving into the mansion, the family had a small brick cottage, so they didn't stay in that small slab hut the whole time before they built the Monte Cristo Homestead. They actually moved up a little bit when they started gaining a little more wealth and stayed in a small cottage. It was a small brick cottage, And so they stayed in that while it was being built. And then once it was built, they turned the small brick cottage into slave quarters. And then they knocked down the slab hut they lived in first when they moved there.
Okay, I have a question. You might not have researched this, but Australia is not its own country yet. Because Australia didn't become like a devolved country until like 1910 or so.
Huh.
So it's still part of the British Empire.
Most likely.
But didn't the British Empire abolish slavery in like the 1830s or 40s?
Girl, I'm not sure. The stories said they had slaves, so I'm not sure. They built those slave quarters. Well, they didn't build the slave quarters. They turned that small brick cottage into slave quarters for a reason.
Okay.
And they actually, that slat hut that they lived in like at first when they were very poor, they knocked that down and turned that into a stable for their prized horses. They really liked their horses, as most people back in the day did.
Yeah.
So, again, this was the grandest home in the region at the time and the ultimate status symbol for the Crawleys. The homestead really became the social center as well because you didn't really, having that status of wealth wasn't enough. You also had to climb socially as well.
Oh, yeah.
So they had parties and things, and they would also have people over for like outdoors activities like tennis and
Nobody
golf.
likes new money.
No, exactly. But they actually had the first golf course in the region, which is why when you brought up before about them having to get more land, I didn't read about them getting more land, but they would have had to get more land to have a golf course. Yeah, so definitely had to have more than 2 acres of land to have that huge house and the golf course and the tennis course.
Because my aunt lives on her whole property is 1 acre. Mm-hmm. It is like big. It's like bigger than the yard I grew up with.
Right.
But like I could easily walk it,
Mm-hmm.
like in less than 10 minutes, like 5 minutes.
Right.
But, so 2 acres, like, that's what, 10 minutes? And it's like, and when you said he's a farmer, I'm like, huh.
Exactly. So, like, they definitely bought more land at some point. I imagine as they bought more money. So, they definitely have this estate. They're playing golf. They're having parties. They're really, like, they've climbed the social ladder. They have their symbol of wealth. They're really, like, on the outside, they're really those people. They're those dolls. And also, another thing to note is the Crawleys would go on to have 4 girls and 3 boys.
Oh, 7 kids?
7 kids, yeah. And their names are irrelevant, though. They don't matter. The kids are irrelevant, as usual. The kids are never...
That's what my parents said when I was born.
You know, don't doubt that. That's a whole mood. But, so... Miss Crawley. Let's talk about Miss Crawley, Miss Elizabeth, for a minute. So she was said to be a lot like Queen Victoria. She always wore a black lace dress, lace cap with a stand-up beaded collar. It's giving.
Was she a widow, or was this just a style choice?
I think this was just like her style choice because it said she was kind of a dark lady. She ruled the house with an iron fist. So, like I said on before.
You said dark lady, and all I could think of was Christmas with the... Never mind.
Okay.
Cut that out.
Okay. So, on the outside, like I said before, the Crawleys really seem to be like the upstanding people, the people you really wanted to be, but like most people with money and wealth, the people who you think are like the epitome of success and wealth and success and wealth, and success and wealth. Also success and wealth. Usually there's some shit going on there, you know. There's always something
saying success and wealth. What I'm not hearing is class.
Oh, girl. Well, maybe they didn't have that much class because they would actually... There were a lot of rumors and legends of how they would very poorly mistreat their employees and slaves. One example of this is one day a slave boy spoke out against Miss Crawley, and she actually chained him to the front of the house for days. Now, this is just one story, but we'll get to more stories as we start talking about the ghosts and stuff, because the craziest stories come from the ghost stories. So, moving forward a little bit, Christopher Crawley would die in December of 1910 at age of 69 due to blood poisoning, and that was caused by a carbuncle. Now, I know you're curious what a carbuncle is. I know everyone at home's on the edge of their seat. So a carbuncle is actually when a hair follicle becomes infected and they fill with pus and then eventually drain. So what happened was when his carbuncle popped, we're getting really into like the pimple pop. You ever seen that Dr. Pimple Popper show? We're really getting into that right now. So if you hate that, move forward.
No, I love it. I'm just like, because sometimes I get that like where I'm shaving in a hair.
Oh, yeah.
And now I'm just sitting here like, oh my god, am I going to die of blood poisoning?
No, because his actually got infected by starch on his collar. Back in the day, they would put starch on his collar. So it was on his neck, and when it popped, it rubbed against the collar. Yeah, it rubbed against his starched collar and got infected and poisoned his blood, and that's how he died. So, after he died... Ooh, I thought I was going to sneeze. Ooh, I'm in. Jeez. Oh,
I love how I look dead in the camera as you did that.
Ooh. We look good, girl. Honestly, if you're not watching this video, you're only getting half the story.
Don't watch it. I can feel myself starting to glisten a little bit from the heat.
It is hot in here, honestly. We're gonna have to get like a fan or something. We'll see what happens. But, so after Christopher's death, Elizabeth would kind of go crazy with like depression and like, not crazy with depression, but like, so basically
wearing black dresses every day.
After he died, she was alive for 23 more years, right? She only left the house twice after that. And she would convert the attic storage space into a chapel, and she would spend most of her days upstairs in that chapel. Now, could you imagine being there in that same house for 23 years and only leaving twice?
No.
She was so distraught. She was just very distraught about her husband's death and kind of went crazy over it, right? But eventually she would die at age 92 due to heart failure caused by a ruptured appendix. And I'm sure she was ready for the sweet, sweet relief of death.
Yeah, I'm surprised she made it 23 years.
Right. Honestly, relatable though. Very relatable.
She must have been like really into torturing her kids or her slaves or something to like go that long.
Honestly, because that's really how it do be though, because the meanest, most awful people, they're the bitches who live the longest. It's the nice ones who go out early. That's why I'm getting a little nervous.
Oh, you have nothing to worry about, Paul.
Damn. It's rough on these streets. Getting read on my own podcast. I hate it here.
Daily.
So, after both of their deaths, this home would stay in the family for a while, right? But eventually the Crawleys would vacate the home, sell it off, and auction off all the furniture. And the home would lay unused for about 15 years and would just succumb to neglect. They tried to keep out vandals, but vandals still got in and it got vandalized and everything. So basically the house lost a lot of its glory and brilliance that it had at the time. But there's an upside to that because Reginald and Olive Ryan would...
I'm sorry, what are their names?
Reginald and Olive. And their last name is Ryan. They're a nice couple who would buy and restore the home in 1963.
What a couple.
Reginald and Olive?
Yeah, that's like a power couple name.
Well, they were a power couple because they had kids and they bought this home and moved in and restored it and everything. Now, when they first moved in, they noticed something was off about the house immediately. The house gave them a bad vibe. Their cats and dogs even refused to enter the house. So right off, something was off. I mean, it was enough for them to buy the house because from what I read, Reginald.
Reggie.
Yeah, he was poor, so he was trying to make a way for himself and his family to make money. He wanted to buy the house, restore it. He just wanted to make a life for himself. So, even with these bad vibes, they were like, we're doing this, which...
Amityville.
That's really what tends to happen with most haunted houses. People move in and they just ignore the vibes when the vibes are off. So, lesson, do not ignore the vibes. Trust your gut. If the vibes are off, do not buy the home. Sorry, I didn't mean to yell that.
When in doubt, move out.
What podcast is that from again?
Two Girls, One Ghost.
Two Girls, One Ghost. I love Two Girls, One Ghost.
Me too.
We stan. Love you guys. So, one night, the Ryans had left home, right? They were probably running errands or something, and they returned to find all the lights on in the home. Now, this is especially creepy because there was no power in the house yet. So that you come home, there's no power in the house is completely lit up, so they're like, oh shit, people broke in, but like people broke in. How is there even like lights on in this house? There's no power in this house.
Oil lamps?
Girl. So when the Ryans go to enter the house, as soon as like when they go to grab the doorknob, the lights all shut off. As soon as it's like the ghosts were like having a party and then they realized they were home and they were like, oh shit, hide everything. We're done. We've been caught.
Are ghosts just teenagers?
Hey, if I'm dead, I'm having a party.
Rager! Mom and dad are home.
Right, it's very that vibe. It was very that. So, this story's a little more depressing.
Oh.
In another instance, the Ryans came home one evening to find all their chickens strangled to death.
The clucks.
I know. Strangle and cock is a very sensitive conversation for you, and I know you've had a lot of past experience with that, and my heart really goes out for you hearing this story, DJ. And my heart goes out to all those cocks out there. Cluck, cluck. May you rest in peace. And in another incident, a pet parrot would be found strangled to death.
What do they have
And it's
against
kin-
birds?
Well, it's not just birds, because also they found one of their litters of kittens all murdered. Which is really awful and really sad because I love kittens. So there's definitely, no one knows what ghost exactly they think is killing all of these animals on the property. And even if you remember when I first started that, like, the animals didn't even want to go out like inside the house when I first started talking about the Ryans. So, like, no one really knows what ghost it is that dislikes animals that much that it's going after them, or if it's not even a ghost. Or, I mean, there are some stories that, like, some sources say that these stories about the animals being killed aren't true, but we'll get into that later. But most people do think it is Elizabeth Crawley who, her ghost, is the one strangling all these animals, because her ghost is a very intense one. People do not get good feelings from her ghost. Visitors often, like, when she enters a room, people say, like, they feel cold. Like, she comes with an icy chill. So when, like, they're giving tours and stuff and these visitors feel, like, icy chill or a bad vibe, they're like, oh, that's Elizabeth, right? Sometimes she'll even give, like, icy hand jobs, which I don't know about you. I've had a few of those in my day, and they're really not that present. Yeah, it's crazy, right?
She jerks people off.
Yeah, it's an extra $5, but she'll do it.
I can't tell if you're making a joke or not.
No, that's a joke.
Okay.
They're not giving ghost hand jobs.
I thought this, like, this story is, like, crazy. Like, anything could happen.
It is. This, honestly, I wasn't expecting Monte Cristo to have such a crazy, like, background when I started researching this. But the stories I'm about to tell after this are even more crazy. Like, this, Monte Cristo goes hard, really. Also, we must note that Elizabeth, the ghost of Elizabeth, particularly does not people who she perceives of having bad manners, are too loud. Basically, if you don't fit that proper Victorian...
Yeah, this seems to be a theme for Victorian ghost because we discussed that on Lizzie Borden.
Right. So, don't go walking up in that homestead with your bad manners, because Elizabeth's going to come at you. And you're not going to want her coming at you, girl. She's not the good ghost, okay? She might strangle your chicken.
I don't want an icy hand job.
Me either. So, on the other spectrum of things, Christopher Crawley's ghost is said to be a little more tame. He's more seen and not heard, and usually only really seen from a distance, like people see him like pass by real quick down a hallway, things like that. So he's more of a tame ghost, likes to stay off, and like I said, people usually see him more from a distance, like down a hallway or whatever, right? So, let's get into Christopher's dark side, though, which happened a little more while he was alive. So there was a rumor going around that Christopher actually had sexual relations with two of the maids. The first maid died by committing suicide. She jumped off the balcony and hit the stairs, and you can still see the spot where they used bleach to try and clean the blood stain. Her ghost is said to haunt that veranda, so they can see her at the veranda, sometimes hear her screams. You know, the usual ghost thing, spotting, screams, all that. Now, the second maid's story is a little bit more interesting and harsh. So it's said she actually got pregnant by Christopher and had a son named Harold. Harold was, as a young boy, was hit by a stagecoach and received a severe head injury. If I can talk. And if you were watching the video, you can see I only took 2 sips of wine. It's just got a little bit of that speech impediment, you know. But Harold had a little bit of a brain injury, a little brain trauma, right?
But he survived?
He did survive. But as a result of the brain trauma, Harold developed uncontrollable aggression and could no longer care for himself. So they did what any good parent would do. And they locked him in the coach house, chained up for 30 years. Can you believe that? Isn't that crazy? And, like, what makes it worse is Harold would scream and howl daily. So, like, they could hear him from the coach house. And this would actually lead to rumors amongst the local children of a monster being in the coach house. So they thought his screams in the coach house and, like, the chains rattling and things was actually a monster that they had, like, locked in the coach house. Like, you know how kids have, like, little stories and stuff like, oh, the Wicked Witch on the Hill?
Ooh, Radley.
It was very that. And, you know, the parents probably didn't believe the kids when they were saying this. So that's probably why it took so long because they did find Harold and they put him into an asylum and he died in that asylum. But it took I've heard reports that anywhere from 30 to 40 years he was in that coach house. It is really awful. It's a really awful story. And to this day, people say they can still hear his screams and the rattling of his chains coming from the coach house. Now y'all are understanding why we put this trigger warning at the beginning of the episode, because there are so many awful stories coming from the Crowley home. It's honestly, I understand now why it's like called the most haunted home in all of Australia, because of all these ghosts and all these stories, and I'm not even done yet. There's more stories I have to tell, and some of them are like crazy, like this next one. So, another ghost of the coach house is Morris. Morris was a young stable boy who was known for slacking off. So one day, Morris didn't feel well. He was feeling sick and was sleeping in. But his master didn't believe that he was sick. I heard the story. Yeah, this story is honestly crazy. See, his master didn't believe he was sick, so he did what any reasonable manager would do, and he set the straw on fire that Morris was sleeping on. And Morris was actually too sick to get up from there, and he burnt to death. Now, why the manager did not, hear these screams and rescue him? Why the manager would even think, well, let me teach him
I'm going to say this. You know the manager did that on purpose. I hope that bitch dies. I would not be surprised if the manager locked the door.
I hope that's not the case. But either way, Morris was too sick and he could not escape the burning straw. And visitors claim they can still hear his screams from burning to death to this day. Lots of sad stories and lots of, could you imagine, hearing that blood-curdling scream in the middle of the night?
It's the middle of the night?
No, it was the day, I think, when he burned. But, I imagine most ghost screams are at nighttime. I just picture hearing, or seeing ghosts at nighttime mainly. I assume maybe you can hear the screams at daytime too. Why not? But crazy times. Crazy girl. Crazy girl. Rest in peace, Morris. So, moving on. In 1917, Christopher and Elizabeth's granddaughter, Ethel, was dropped on the stairs by a nursemaid and died.
Sorry,
You got a little too excited.
Because I love this story.
Okay.
Because wasn't it I heard one version of it where the nurse basically tripped in a way where she basically threw the baby.
Right.
And it was kind of paranormal. She felt like she had been tripped.
Yeah. There are claims she did say that she was pushed. But there were other reports that, she claimed that the baby was actually grabbed out of her hands and thrown down the stairs by a ghost. But either way, the general consensus is that the maid was pushed, and that's what led to her dropping the baby out of the hands, and the baby died.
Yeah, because somebody said, like, the baby basically got yeeted down the stairs.
Right.
Like, whether it was thrown or whether, like, because if you're tripping, you're probably going,
Exactly.
I'm so glad you brought the baby yeeting story up.
Yeah, but also, like, it would be kind of easy, like, maybe the nurse just fell and she, like, because, like, she killed this baby, so maybe she fell and she was like, oh, it was a ghost, just so, like, the blame wasn't put on her.
Didn't she commit suicide after, too?
I didn't read about what happened after, but I wouldn't be surprised, because, like, having that guilt on your conscience for the rest of your life. I just couldn't
remember if that was one of the stories or not.
Maybe it was, but I just didn't read it.
Was that while Elizabeth was alive, or did Elizabeth try to get rid of the baby?
Honestly, that's a good question. That's something we'll have to do more research on. Maybe we'll go live sometime soon and we'll discuss that more.
Updates.
Yeah, we will have to do updates. You know, maybe we'll have to do a part 2. Who knows? Because this Monte Cristo is such a crazy story. Like,
you said it's the most haunted home in Australia.
Exactly. It is the most haunted home in Australia. Well, that's is objective the one where it's like your opinion, or is that
Subjective.
Okay, so that's a very subjective thing to say then.
Yeah, because we did the whole month where it was like everything was the most haunted. We had the most haunted doll. We had the most haunted eBay purchase.
Exactly.
Or the most haunted object, Dybbuk box.
Right. So I could very much see that, like, I could see where it could be the most haunted home in Australia. I believe it. But then again, I haven't done much research into more homes in Australia. I don't know much about more Australian ghosts yet, which I imagine we'll get more into in the future, you know. But back to the good old Monte Cristo Homestead.
Sorry, you're doing something with your face, so it's kind of mocking you in the camera.
That's fine. That's just what's gonna happen. I'm gonna be looking dead-eyed into the camera, making weird faces, making eye contact, and doing weird things, and it's just gonna be what it's gonna be, and the girls who get it, and that's the tea. But we're going way back to 1960 with this one. Oh. So in 1960, there was one of the townspeople who had spent the day watching Alfred Hitchcock's movie Psycho. He had seen it a couple times, and they decided to go a little psycho themselves. So what they did is they got their gun and they went to the Monte Cristo homestead, and they actually shot a caretaker named Jack Simpson on the porch. Then this person proceeded to go carve "Die Jack, ha ha ha" into the shed door, and you can still see this carved in the shed door to this day. Isn't that crazy? Like, you're watching that movie, and then...
They didn't decide to go psycho. They were psycho, and this movie just, like...
solidified it.
Like, just made... Like, it's okay if I do this.
Which, that's a whole deeper conversation about violent movies and video games and things. Which, how many people... Like, it's crazy to me, like... Violent video games, whether they should have them or not, that was like the go-to college essay for so many people.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
The number of bitches I have seen write that essay about violent video games is insane. Like,
see, can I say something controversial?
What?
And it may lose us some followers.
Yeah.
My stance was that all video games basically, like, turn people's brain to mush.
Why do you say that? Because, like, it does involve strategy and things.
I feel like it's gotten better.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, with the strategy, the side quest, but, like, back, like, in high school when I was writing these essays, a lot of the games were just kill as many people as you can, cause as much disruption as you can.
Okay, I did do that in Grand Theft Auto, I'm not gonna lie.
Grand Theft Auto,
But
Halo.
they do have missions, though. Well, maybe we'll debate this on a live sometime.
Yeah, we can do that.
We'll do a debate on live sometime.
Oh my god, I want to, like, find 2 podiums.
Oh my god, we could probably make one.
No, like, I want to, like, find 2 podiums. I'm gonna, like, find, like, people selling or, like, giving away podiums.
I don't want to debate you, because, like, you're more scholarly, so, like, I don't want to go into that. That would be, like, me debating my parents about something about RuPaul's Drag Race, like why Roxy Andrews is better than Jinx Monsoon or something.
It'd be like you being in a presidential style debate with somebody actually running for president.
Exactly. It would be just like not the tea. But to clarify, I do like Jinx Monsoon more than Roxy Andrews, and I do think she's better.
I love Jinx Monsoon. Has my heart.
She really is the queen of queens. Like, she's the doll and the diva. Y'all need to go get into Jinx Monsoon, because she's a legend.
Anyways, let's get back to Monte Cristo. We're coming up on an hour.
Right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Ryan family more. So, when the Ryans lived there, they felt like they were never alone in the house. And they would hang up pictures and leave, and the pictures would be placed gently on the ground when they would come back, not knocked over, but like placed gently on the ground as if a ghost was like,
Elizabeth was these are not mine.
But it was funny because they were still respectful to the pictures. I just thought that was cute that the ghost was like, not there.
No, do you know what it was? It was Elizabeth going, you have bad taste.
Very that. She was like, sorry, sweaty, not today. Oh my gosh. And another experience was one of the daughters. So one night she went to check in on her brother and opened the door to see an elderly man in Victorian clothes standing over her brother's bed watching him.
No.
And obviously she screamed, but when her family got there to check on her, no one was there. And they checked through the entire house.
No,
they didn't find anyone.
No, Claire.
Right. I would be so spooked if I just saw some random man. Like, imagine even, like, waking up in your bed and seeing some random man just watching you in bed.
Not the conversation, no.
It's giving Edward Cullen again. We bring up Edward Cullen too much.
Okay.
This is really a Twihard podcast.
July's Uncorked. I'm calling it now. We rewatch Twilight.
Oh my god.
Right before Uncorked. And then we do an Uncorked where we just do our thoughts.
Okay, we'll see. Maybe we'll do an Uncorked where we do that. We're becoming a Twihard podcast. This is crazy.
What are we becoming?
We are. Plot twist. This whole podcast is just a scheme to get everyone to become Twihards. Oh, jeez. Well, there are too many experiences the Ryans had while living there to recount them all. But those are, like, the two, like, main stories. But the Ryan family still owns and runs the homestead to this day, running ghost tours, and there is even a doll museum in the house, which makes it extra creepy, because dolls are creepy.
I'm done.
They really were banking on that creepy factor. So when people visit the house, they see myths, apparitions, orbs, get the feeling they're not alone, feel intense feelings of sadness, and even the feeling of suffocation in some parts of the property. There are tons of pictures of ghosts captured on the property, which can be seen at Monte Cristo's website or at montecristodoc.com, which they're actually filming a documentary about the Monte Cristo Homestead. So go ahead and check out Monte Cristo documentary, montecristodoc.com, to get updates on the Monte Cristo Homestead. But before I show you any pictures of these ghosts, because there's some crazy pictures of these ghosts, so I have an important question for you.
Yes?
Smash or pass Christopher Crawley while he has the carbuncle?
Pass.
I'm gonna have to give it a pass too, girl.
Also, I have not seen a picture of this man, but you said, late Victorian man. All I can imagine is the weird, bun-and-knee, choppy facial hair.
Right. Well, let me show you a few pictures. And for those listening on just audio, go check out our Instagram or video. Because we're going to cut out this next part so you guys don't have to listen to me go on about these pictures. But if you're interested in the pictures, go check out our YouTube. Go look at the pictures. So, first things first, this is the Crawleys.
Yeah, he's got weird facial hair.
Yeah, he's kind of ugly. Next photo. This is the Ryans. A nice, lovely older couple. There's the Ryans, the people who bought the place. Good old Reginald and Olive. Now, is there a way to make this bitch full screen?
Yeah, hit slideshow.
Okay. I don't know if you all will be able to see it on this video. But there's a ghost at the top of the stairs. It's circled there. So there's a ghost at the top of the stairs.
I don't think it's picking up on the camera.
So go check out our Instagram then, so you can see that full photo and see the ghost at the top of the
I
stairs.
don't see it either.
Oh my gosh, you don't see it?
I see like
Oh my god.
pixelated that's slightly lighter than the dark.
And then there's this photo of the ghost standing behind them.
Like there?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I kind of can make that out.
I don't know if you guys can see the ghost standing behind them.
I'll circle it.
Right there. Creepy. Spooky. And then next, this is the craziest one, because you can very clearly see this ghost in the window.
Is it that?
Yeah, it's the boy standing in the window of the coach house.
Jesus.
This was actually taken by a visitor.
How do they know that's not like a real kid?
That's the thing, they don't know. So maybe we should get into the conspiracy. The one conspiracy theory I have about this one. So the one conspiracy that I read online, which welcome back to our audio listeners. So the one conspiracy that I read online about this one is that the ghosts aren't actually real. That the Ryans made up these stories, the ghost stories, to make it seem haunted so that they could have people have a booming business, attract people to the homestead.
And you did say that they were kind of struggling and they bought this place.
Mm-hmm. So there is a theory that the Ryans made up a lot of these ghost stories to really bring in people and bring in revenue. I don't think so either. Because looking at some of these pictures, it's like, girl, I think there's some ghost there. I think there's some spook. So at the same time, they do have these ghost tours, and people say they're feeling things when they're there and things and seeing things. But also, it could go back to the placebo effect, the power of suggestion. So you'll have to go and experience for yourself. Tell us what you think of the Monte Cristo Homestead. If you've been there in person, what your thoughts are. And if you go and visit, let us know. Tell us what you feel there. Do you think the Ryans are lying, or did you actually feel some ghosts there? Do you think they're faking these photos too? And you know what a good way to tell us about your thoughts, feelings on the Monte Cristo Homestead?
By texting us?
Exactly. Go ahead and click that link below and send us a good old text message. Tell us what you think. If you have any comments, questions, concerns. I know this was a very intense episode. There's a lot of traumatic stories. It's just a crazy homestead in general. But I really enjoyed researching it. Yeah. I wasn't expecting it to be that interesting. So I really enjoyed researching this one, and I'm going to have to come back to Australia sometime and research some more about Australian ghosts, because this was crazy. These ghost stories were insane.
Sounds just like the animals down there. Everything will kill you.
Exactly.
Especially the white man.
That part. I could never live in Australia. The spiders, just everything.
I really want to visit. I don't think I could live there long term.
Exactly.
Also, it's hot. Most of it's desert.
Oh, yeah, and my hair. Ooh. But yeah, it's hot there. And I don't do the heat. See, one thing about me is heats and droughts make me nervous. I don't even like driving my car when it's too hot outside. It just makes me nervous. I don't know why, but I have to live in temperate climate. I need cool days.
Why do you live in Pittsburgh?
Exactly. I can't do this desert. People who live in the desert willingly, that spooks me. People willingly move to Arizona and Texas and...
Also, my joke about why do you live in Pittsburgh, it's because Pittsburgh is so not temperate, because in a week, if not in a day, you can experience all 4 seasons.
I might have used the temperate word wrong. What I meant to say is that I like things that have cool days and warm days, but I don't like it when it's hot all the time.
Okay, I got what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I used that word wrong. That's my bad. I'm sorry, folks.
Yeah, you said temperate, I thought you meant somewhere where it has not like Pittsburgh where it has a defined winter, spring, summer, and fall. Mm-hmm. Where Pittsburgh, you have a little bit of it mixed in all over the place.
Yeah, I love having seasons. I love snow, but I also love warm days. I love having seasons. I love autumn.
And in Pittsburgh, you can have an 80-degree day in February and a blizzard the next day, and then you have flowers the day after that.
Right, it's crazy. Pittsburgh's wild. Honestly, though, love Pittsburgh. It's kind of iconic.
It is.
Y'all have to come see Pittsburgh at some point.
Yes, because we're going to try and do a live show at some time in the fall here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
We're
so...
going to start reaching out and getting it set up.
Yeah, so make sure you watch out for that. Maybe we'll be doing a live show hopefully in this coming fall.
Maybe for our first anniversary.
That would be cool. I'd be here for that. But
thank you for sharing, Paul. That was awesome.
Do you have any comments, questions, or concerns about the Monte Cristo before we wrap it on up?
No, but I could really go for a Monte Cristo sandwich.
It does sound good, doesn't it? I want to try it so bad.
All I ate today was like half of a donut. Mm-hmm. So like I'm big hungry.
I feel that. Maybe we'll have to get a Monte Cristo sandwich after this.
Well, let me run through our socials.
You get this.
You can follow us on Twitter and on Facebook at Crips and Corks. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Crips and Corks Pod. If you have story suggestions or if you have personal stories that you'd like to share with us for us to read on the pod, you can email us at cripsandcorks@gmail.com. In all of those cases, it's not the ampersand, it is and spelled out. Paul, where can they find you?
You can find me at my personal Instagram at Paulember, Paulember, and my personal TikTok at Paulember, Paulember. And as usual, folks, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
If you would like to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram or on TikTok at The Real Deej Powers. That is RealDeejPowers. Or if you would like to slide up into my DMs, you can find me on eHarmony at Single Ready to Pringle.
I love a good Pringle.
Me too.
Girl.
And I think that's all she wrote.
For sure.
So until next time, Corkies, keep your crips tight.
And your corks loose. Bye. Bye.